Tensions are escalating by the hour. A single warning from Beijing is enough to make the entire East Asia region heat up like a powder keg. And this time, China has sent a direct ultimatum to Japan. Could this be a dangerous slip, pushing the Pacific closer to the brink of conflict? Welcome to Warzone. If you want the fastest, most in-depth, and most accurate analysis on military and geopolitical issues, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. According to Bloomberg, tensions between
Military
Japan and
ships in the
China
Taiwan
are
Strait.
rising
Misty
sharply
morning.
after Beijing
Tense
sent a letter
standoff
to the
between
United
China and
Nations
Japan.
warning it would carry out, quote, resolute self-defense, end quote, if Tokyo intervenes militarily in Taiwan. Japan immediately rejected the claim, calling it completely baseless. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Takaichi and Premier Lee Chung both attended the G20 in South Africa, but the two leaders largely avoided each other at this sensitive moment. Bloomberg also reports that China even invoked the enemy state clause from World War II, while Japan says this clause is obsolete. At the same time, Japan's defense minister visited Yonaguni Island, just 100 kilometers from Taiwan, announcing plans to deploy missiles to strengthen deterrence. To understand the full picture of this escalating standoff, let's break it down into the main points.
Enemy state clause.
Here at Warzone, we closely track every security development in Asia, and in recent days, the newest flashpoint came from a letter China sent directly to the United Nations. According to what we've recorded, Beijing warned that if Japan dared to intervene militarily in Taiwan, it would take what it called, quote, resolute self-defense measures, end quote. This is a very rare choice of words from China when addressing Japan in the modern context. What's even more notable is Tokyo's immediate and very strong response. The Japanese government firmly stated that China's claim that Japan is changing its stance on Taiwan is completely baseless. Tokyo emphasized that its position has not changed. Peace in the Taiwan Strait is of vital interest for Japan, but that does not mean Japan is preparing to use military force. However, China didn't stop there. They also referenced an outdated post-World War II provision, the so-called enemy state clause, implicitly suggesting they have the right to take military action against Japan without UN approval. Japan, in turn, stated clearly that this clause is entirely obsolete and holds no value in today's international order. From these tense exchanges, we can clearly see how sensitive the Taiwan issue has become. Even more concerning, Japan and China are entering a phase with less direct dialogue, while warnings and deterrence continue to increase day by day. Here at Warzone, we closely monitor every security development in Asia. And in recent days, the newest flashpoint came from a letter China sent directly to the United Nations. According to what we've recorded, Beijing warned that if Japan dared to intervene militarily in Taiwan, it would take what it called resolute self-defense measures. This is a very rare choice of words from China when addressing Japan in the modern context. What's even more notable is Tokyo's immediate and very strong response. The Japanese government firmly stated that China's claim that Japan is changing its stance on Taiwan is completely baseless.
We want to emphasize
Tokyo
that our stance is
emphasized
purely
that its
defensive
position has
and
not
aimed at maintaining
changed.
stability in the region.
Peace in the
We seek
Taiwan
dialogue,
Strait
not
is of
escalation.
vital interest
Stormy
for
night
Japan,
over East China
but
Sea,
that does not mean
symbolic of
Japan is
rising
preparing
tension,
to use
cinematic
military
style.
force. However, China did not stop there. They also referenced an outdated post-World War II provision, the so-called enemy state clause, implicitly suggesting they have the right to take military action against Japan without UN approval. Japan, in turn, stated clearly that this clause is entirely obsolete and holds no value in today's international order. From these tense exchanges, we can clearly see how sensitive the Taiwan issue has become. Even more concerning, Japan and China are entering a phase with less direct dialogue, while warnings and deterrence continue to increase day by day. Continuing the story on the ground, Warzone has observed a very noteworthy development. Japan is increasing its military presence in the southwest region, an area just a helicopter's flight away from Taiwan. Specifically, Japan's defense minister made his first visit to Yonaguni Island, a forward outpost located roughly 100 kilometers from Taiwan's coastline. This is Japan's westernmost point, a strategic location Tokyo views as a gateway for monitoring activities in the surrounding waters.
It changes the entire scope.
During the visit, the Japanese defense minister announced plans to deploy a missile system in the area, with the stated purpose of strengthening early deterrence and ensuring the security of remote islands and key maritime routes. This move is part of Japan's broader plan to enhance defensive capabilities along its southern island chain. It's not just Japan operating in the region. The United States is also moving equipment and training supplies from Okinawa closer to Yonaguni. These are routine logistical rotations between bases, but according to international observers, they make the regional security picture noticeably more active than usual.
They must be removed from the final
With
draft.
the movement of these two major forces in the area, many experts predict that China may increase military exercises in nearby waters as a typical response. Warzone will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates as new information becomes available.
What is the status of that
On the
contact?
diplomatic front,
It's accelerating
tensions are
rapidly,
far from
source unknown.
easing. At the G20 summit in South Africa, Warzone noted that Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and Chinese Premier Li Qiang had no direct contact or exchanges whatsoever. This was not by chance. Both leaders maintained a deliberate distance. Ahead of the G20 summit, China had canceled a scheduled meeting between the culture ministers of Japan, South Korea, and China.
Platforms.
This
Ready
is a
for
relatively
deterrence.
sensitive
Dramatic
diplomatic
clouds.
signal, indicating that the atmosphere between the two countries was not conducive to dialogue. From Japan's side, Prime Minister Takaichi emphasized that Tokyo is not closing the door to dialogue. Japan maintains that direct exchanges are always the best way to avoid misunderstandings and escalation.
All right, move up tight. Secure that
However,
Humvee now.
she also noted that
Clear on
China
the
did
ramp.
not provide any
Next truck, move
opportunity
forward.
to arrange even a brief meeting on the sidelines of the summit. Japan's decision to keep distance at the G20 may stem from several factors. Respecting
Command,
its
we have
stated
multiple
position,
unidentified
Tokyo
contacts
wants to
moving
demonstrate
rapidly near the Yonaguni
consistency
structure.
and avoid giving the
Designating
impression that it is backing down after Beijing's accusations. Avoiding misinterpretation by China, any rushed meeting in a tense context
satellite
could
imagery
be
confirms the
misunderstood
movement here.
as Japan trying
They are
to
moving faster than
explain or
anticipated.
adjust
We
its
need to adjust the
stance.
approach immediately.
Maintaining diplomatic initiative. Japan wants to show it is willing to engage in dialogue, but not at any cost,
Confirmed. Launching in
especially when China
T-5.
does not open communication channels. Combined with developments
preparing
on the
military
ground,
exercises
it
near
is clear
Taiwan.
that
Red
Japan-China
alerts.
picture at the moment is a very delicate balance. Minimal direct dialogue, yet heightened warnings and deterrence. Turning to the controversial statement made by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, this is the point that has triggered the most diplomatic tension in recent days.
costs. There is no
China
retreat.
interpreted her
Our supplies are
remarks
dwindling,
as
General.
implying
We
that
can't
Japan
sustain the
is ready
defense.
to
Convoy
intervene
route through the northern sector is
militarily
clear.
or even use force in a situation involving Taiwan. However, when Warzone reviewed the full context and compared it with the analysis of Sheila Smith, senior fellow at the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations, the reality is quite different from Beijing's interpretation. According to Sheila Smith's analysis, Prime Minister Takaichi never said that Japan
We
would
will
attack
absolutely
China.
not tolerate
There was
any
no
actions
mention
that
of Japan
infringe
taking
upon our
military
nation's
action
sovereignty.
or joining a conflict. What Takaichi actually said was that if China uses force on Taiwan, Japan would need to consider the implications of that event on its own
All right,
national
squad, push up
security.
to the tree line.
This is not a new stance. It has been codified
Sir,
in
the
Japanese law
destroyer
since
Amagiri has changed course,
2015
heading
under the
southeast at
new
high speed.
security
Alert the fleet.
legislation.
Maintain radio silence
Under
and prepare
this
for immediate
framework,
response.
Japan has the right to consider collective defense measures if a situation poses a serious threat to the country's survival. Any assessment is based on the impact on Japan's national security, not an automatic intervention for another country. This legal framework allows Japan to respond defensively, not to proactively use military force. From War Zone's perspective, as an independent observer tracking the region from afar, Takeichi's statement, when separated from political interpretation, is simply a reaffirmation of Japan's position that has existed for nearly a decade. Yet, given the current sensitive context, her words were immediately elevated into a diplomatic flashpoint. Clearly, this was not a threat, but rather Japan emphasizing that any disturbance in Taiwan would directly affect its national security, exactly as stipulated under the 2015 legislation. Following the controversies surrounding Prime Minister Takeichi's statement, Warzone observes that tensions between the two sides are not confined to rhetoric alone. They are also visibly shifting to the economic front, where China has repeatedly used economic measures as a pressure tool. Immediately after responding to Takeichi's remarks, Beijing demanded that Tokyo retract its statement. Japan's stance this time was resolute. There is no reason to retract. This signals that the Japanese government does not want to set a precedent of yielding on matters related to national security and core interests. Historically, China has often relied on economic measures to exert pressure, restricting Chinese tourists to Japan, a vital source of local revenue, banning or tightening imports of Japanese seafood, particularly following issues related to Fukushima's wastewater treatment. These measures have had significant impact in the past, but have also triggered a backlash among the Japanese public. Many citizens view these actions as excessive, punitive rather than dialogue-driven, which in turn is strengthening support for Takeichi, especially among voters concerned with sovereignty and security issues. From Warzone's neutral perspective, it is clear that China is escalating pressure, but primarily in the economic sphere, rather than militarily. This helps both sides avoid immediate dangerous confrontation, but it creates a prolonged high-tension standoff where every move sends ripple effects through public sentiment and opinion in both countries. After these tense developments with China and the chain of misunderstandings surrounding her remarks, Prime Minister Takeichi is witnessing an unusual boost in domestic political support, something very rare in Japan's traditionally cautious political landscape. Recent surveys illustrate this trend clearly. Yomarichi's Shinbun, 72% approval. Mainichi, 65% approval. Notably, 49% of Japanese people believe Takeichi did the right thing when responding to parliamentary questioning on Taiwan, a very unusual figure, given Japan's general caution regarding potential use of force or military involvement. Warzone sees this as a signal of shifting social sentiment in Japan. As economic pressure from China increases and public awareness of regional security risks grows, many Japanese citizens are beginning to view Takeichi as a strong, steady leader, someone willing to clearly state Japan's position without unnecessarily escalating tensions. Prime Minister Takeichi has long been known for her dedication and consistency on issues of sovereignty, security, and protection of national interests. Over the years, she has pursued policies to strengthen defense, support defense technology, and promote the Japan-U.S. alliance. Her refusal to bow to Beijing's demand to retract is seen by the public as proof of this steadfastness. In today's context, tensions with China are inadvertently reinforcing Takeichi's position in domestic politics. helping her gain internal confidence and broad public support,
The 2015
a crucial
reforms are
factor for
absolutely
any
necessary for our
Japanese
defense
prime minister.
capability.
How can you say that? This
From
undermines
recent
Article 9.
developments,
It is
Warzone
unconstitutional.
observes that Japan's position on the international stage under Prime Minister Takeichi is showing clear signs of strengthening. While Tokyo has always been cautious, Japan's presence at international events sends a
Their
clear
movements near the
message.
Senkaku Islands
The
are
country
increasing.
seeks to play
We
an
must
active
verify these
role in
reports
maintaining
immediately.
regional
The Seventh
stability
Fleet is also
and
on high
upholding
alert.
international norms. Recently, Takeichi has made notable appearances at key forums. At APEC, she left an impression through exchanges with ASEAN leaders and even Chinese President Xi Jinping. While not deep bilateral dialogues, Japan's central presence highlights
this
Tokyo
position
as
by
a partner with a
0400.
distinct voice
That
on
is our
regional
defensive
matters.
line.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to Tokyo also drew international attention. Beyond politics, the event demonstrated Japan's broad
defensive
influence
posture has
and its
changed.
ability to
What is
maintain
Tokyo's current
relations
alert
with
level?
globally
Elevated to
influential
Delta
figures
within the last hour,
regardless
sir.
of their current official positions. At the G20 in South Africa, despite some diplomatic distance from China, Japan maintained the stance of a
Despite
balanced
what the
nation,
headlines suggest,
firm in
we
its
must find
principles
common ground.
without confronting
This is the
directly.
only path forward for
International
both of
media
us.
described Takeichi's handling of the situation as
この
calm
重要な
and
局面におい
stable.
ては、冷静か
Warzone
つ
notes an
建設的
important
な議論を
trend.
求めますが、
Japan is actively projecting
This
itself as a
dialogue is the
nation
only
that
thing standing
upholds
between
the
us
international
and the
rules-based
consequences we
order,
both wish
a
to
concept
avoid.
Tokyo has emphasized for many years. Amid global turbulence, this stance positions Japan as a pillar of stability in the region, seen by many countries as a reliable anchor in security, economic, and multilateral cooperation issues. Meanwhile, China, according to many international analysts, is often portrayed as seeking to adjust or reshape parts of the current order. The contrasting approaches of the two countries further highlight Japan's role at international conferences. Overall, Warzone observes that the combination of increasing domestic credibility, a clear foreign policy stance, and continuous diplomatic engagement is elevating Japan to a new position on the global stage, cautious but influential, flexible yet principled. After Japan's international standing has been reinforced, a key factor further underlining Tokyo's influence is the U.S.-Japan alliance, which, though strong before, is now even tighter under Takeichi. Warzone observes that
showing
despite
ripple effect
leadership
of
changes,
economic sanctions
Japan
on
has not
Japanese
shifted its
public
strategic
sentiment.
direction with Washington. Takeichi continues to
Dramatic
build on her
contrast.
predecessor's
Japanese
extensive
economy under
cooperation,
pressure.
especially in
Symbolic
three
visual of
critical
tension.
areas: rare earths and strategic mineral supply chains. Japan and the U.S. are coordinating to reduce reliance on external sources for critical materials essential to defense industries, electric vehicles, and electronics. This is a long-term step to ensure economic security in the future. Next-generation technology. From semiconductors and AI to telecommunications infrastructure, the two countries are creating cooperative networks to maintain technological advantage amid increasingly fierce global competition. Economics linked with security. Both nations see economic security as the foundation for regional stability, giving Tokyo and Washington greater common ground on key policies in the Indo-Pacific region. One of the most striking images and symbolic of this cooperation is Takeuchi's joint appearance with former President Donald Trump on a U.S. aircraft carrier at Yokosuka. While unrelated to domestic U.S. politics, symbolically it demonstrates U.S. trust in Japan, while Tokyo signals that it is a stable, reliable strategic partner with a significant role in regional security architecture. From Warzone's perspective, the U.S.-Japan alliance today is not limited to military cooperation. It has evolved into a multi-layered pillar connecting economics, technology, and security into a unified structure. Given current geopolitical turbulence,
Infographic
this
of Japan
partnership
US alliance.
is now stronger
Military
than ever.
technology collaboration.
Based on recent
Glowing
developments,
lines.
Warzone can summarize the picture
Missile defense
of
system
rising
deployment in
tensions
Japan.
between China and
Symbolic
Japan over
reinforcement
the
of
Taiwan
sovereignty.
issue as follows. escalating tensions.
The energy distribution
China
at
has
this
warned
joint
of
is critical.
resolute
Ensure the weld is
self-defense
perfect before the
if
next
Japan
power cycle test.
intervenes,
Confirmed,
while
Doctor.
Japan
Running
rejects
diagnostics
the
now.
allegation and maintains a consistent
The economic
stance.
fallout is unacceptable.
Japan
We cannot
strengthens
sustain these
military
sanctions.
presence.
We cannot afford not
Japan's
to secure
defense
the
minister
sector.
visited
But Takaichi's
Yonaguni
economic
Island
policies are
and
simply
plans
too
to
hawkish
deploy
for this
missiles
district.
I disagree.
alongside
Strong
U.S.
fiscal policies
logistical
are exactly
movements
what
from
we need right now.
Okinawa. China increases economic and diplomatic pressure. Measures include restricting tourism, tightening seafood imports, and demanding Japan retract
China
statements.
watching Japan's
Yet
stance.
Tokyo
Shadowy
remains
figures
firm.
in command center. Tense
Takaichi
atmosphere.
receives strong domestic support. Japanese public opinion backs her firm stance, reinforcing the prime minister's domestic position. U.S.-Japan alliance continues to tighten. Cooperation spans economics, technology, and security, symbolized by their joint appearance on the aircraft carrier at Yokosuka. From Warzone's perspective, the risk of a direct military confrontation is currently low, but warning signals are clear, and the region is entering a sensitive period. Japan is consolidating its domestic and international standing, while China applies economic and diplomatic pressure, all creating a tense yet potentially controllable situation if both sides act cautiously. If you want to follow the latest developments in military and geopolitical affairs in Asia and worldwide, don't forget to subscribe to Warzone
Economic
and turn
and
on
political
notifications
tension
to catch
represented
our
as stormy
newest,
clouds
most
over East
in-depth,
Asia.
and most
Cinematic.
accurate analysis videos.